Hi, Abe.
Hi Mario, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Freezing. It is so cold here. It's
Well, it's not
like,
warm in LA either, but it's not
what's that?
freezing.
Here it is so cold. It's like 50 degrees now.
How
40,
much?
49 Fahrenheit.
But it's now what,
5 o'clock in the morning.
5 o'clock.
Yeah, but it didn't warm up to over 60.
Wow.
Yeah, people are
Well,
walking around here.
I saw in the news, I think around Mount Hermon, it's all snowed in
It
again.
snowed. Yeah, Herman. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. All right. Anyways,
I'll
there
tell you,
should, there should be.
the weather is crazy.
Yeah, but it's all over the world. It's crazy. Anyways, that could be the biggest problem here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chullin,
Chullin tonight, Lag BaOmer at my home, 8 p.m.
Oh,
Um,
here.
Ernie, is it going to be
tonight,
in Hebrew or in English? The
tonight
speaker.
is in English. Tonight's
Huh?
all in English. Tonight's in English.
Okay. I'll try and go. Okay.
And it's for Anna too.
She is not
Okay, but it's for men and it's men and women.
okay, all right.
Okay, we're on Gimel on the base on the bottom. Ton Rabbanon. Shchitas kusi muteres. If a kusi shechts, we can eat the meat. Bamedvar, because she's shalom al gabav. When a Jew is watching him, aval bo mitzosha shacha, but if he showed up and he had already shechted, so then there's a test. You cut a piece of the meat, you give it to him to eat. If he eats it, because they were very careful not to eat nevela. So if they would eat it themselves, we know that it's kosher. If they won't eat it, imlav asr lecho meshchitoso. Kiyotze b'matzah b'yodo. And now we're on Daled Amid Aleph, the Kurya Shultziporin. There was a whole string of slaughtered birds. He cut off one of the heads and gives it to the kusi to eat it. Now, Abayik Daik Meresha, Rava Daik Misefa. Each was Medayik for their own from this brisa. Abayik Daik Meresha, time of Yisrael al Gabav. Why is it permitted? Because there's a touching him. Aval Yotzev Nichnas, but if it's not a permanent mashgiach, someone who's going in out, that's not good enough. Rava Daik Misefa, time of the Bo Matzah Shashachat. The reason why you have to test him to eat it because you weren't there when he shechted. You found him with a string of birds. Aval Yotzev Nichnas, but if you had somebody going in and out like a mashgiach who goes in and out, then he could have lechatchila shapir dami. So now the other of each price is a kasha to Abai and Rava. Abai a kasha seifa. Amar l'cha Yotzev Nichnas nami bo umitzok korilei. This brisa that says they found that the kusi had shechted already, that's also the case where the Jew was being yotzev v'nichnas, and then you have to do the test. Well, the Rava Kasha Reisha, yotzev v'nichnas nami ko oimid al gabav dami. Oimid al gabav includes somebody going in and out because he doesn't know for sure when the guy is going to come in, so he's worried, so he's going to do it the correct way. George, we're on Dalid. Okay, George, Dalid in Chullin. We're in Chullin. Then it says Kayotze Bobiot Matzah Bobiot Dekurshot Tzipor Koter Rosho. If you found a string of birds, you give him a piece of the meat to eat. If he eats it, you can eat it. Amai Lechosh Del Mahai Hudav Shapir. Maybe he knows that that bird that he shechted was the good one, and the other birds are not good. So maybe we shouldn't be able to eat the rest of the birds just because he eats one of them. Rav Menashe, Simin Machnis Izmil B'Schorim, B'Machnisim Tachas Knafav. The Jew had put the string of birds under his jacket, so that, and when he cut the head off one of the birds, the kusi didn't know which bird he cut. So by eating it, he must have known that all the birds are kosher. Maybe the kusi made a simon in the head of the bird. George, can you hear me?
He's in a car,
He's in a car. I want to make sure he can hear me.
but he's muted.
Maybe there was a simon in the head of the bird, so he knew that it was the kosher one. The Jew, before he cut off the head, sort of squashed it and therefore removed any simon. The dilmas ksavi kusi ein shchita lof min Torah. It doesn't say, it says v'zavachta mi bekarcha umitzonech. You shall shecht your cattle and your sheep. It doesn't say anything about shechting birds. Now later on, it says zos Torah sabehema v'ha'of. From there, Chazal learn that you have to shecht a bird before you eat it, min Torah. But maybe it wasn't written directly in the Torah. Maybe the Kusim don't hold of that. And just because he ate the bird's head doesn't mean that it's kosher. Ulatamech. Shehi address a chalot agram avikar miksivina. When we say that there are an invalidation of shchita, when you press or pause or you burrow or you cut it in an area not prescribed for it or you tear it, those things are also not written in the Torah. Well, if the kusim are not reliable for things not written in the Torah, why do we rely on a kusi when he shechts? There's a chazaka that the kusim follow all these laws. So they have a chazaka that their shchit is kosher. By everything, including birds. Birds was a tradition that they accepted as well that requires shchita. Ichzik v'lo ichzik b'delo ksiva. The issue whether chazaka will establish reliability in something not written in the Torah is tanoi, is machlokes tanoi, the Tana. Matzah's kusi muteres. If a kusi bakes a matzah, it's permitted to eat on Pesach. You can even be makayim your mitzvah matzah to seder. Rabbi Yezer Oyser, they don't know the details. If we see the kusim practice these laws, then we can accept it. And when they do, they're even more careful than Jews. Amar Matzah's kusim muteres v'adam yotze b'echavasa b'Pesach. Pshita. Well, why do we have to be added this thing that it's kosher for the Seder night? If it's kosher, it's kosher. The night of Pesach, you have to eat shmura matzah. And maybe they don't know the law that you have to watch it. Kamash Malon, that no, you can rely on them for that. Rab Eliezer said you can't rely on their matzah because they're not careful. They didn't know this issue of shmur matzah. Anything that we find the kusi doing, they do it more carefully than Jews. Well, but that's the same halacha, hainu tanakama. Something that's written in the Torah, but we're not sure that we haven't seen the kusim practice it. Even though we're not muhzik that they do it, we have a tradition that the kusim followed things that were written in the Torah. If what's written in the Torah, we accept it. But Rav Shimon Gamliel says no. Even if it's written, I achzik in, I lo achzik lo. If we've seen that there's a chazaka that they do it, and they know what they're doing, then we can rely on it. Yaki, the language of Rosh Gamliel is not correct. He said, Kol mitzvah shechziku bokusim, it would say, Im hechziku maboile. It's just the opposite. It's a law that was not written in the Torah, yet there's a chazaka that they do it. Since it's not written, and the general rule is that kusim don't observe things that are not written in the Torah. So if we don't see, if they're not muvzik, if we don't see a chazaka that they do it, then we don't rely on it. If they have a chazaka, we accept it even though it's not written. Gufa, Amarava, Yisrael Mumar Achel Nevelos Lateava. A Jew who he keeps the Torah, but he's such a glutton for food that he eats nevela. So, boydek saki v'noiselo. If you check a shchita knife and you check it and give it to him, muter lecho meshchitaso. If he shechs, you can eat from meshchita. My timer. Kiva de ike hetera v'isura. He can eat kosher food and he can eat non-kosher food. Lo shavik hetera v'achal isura. Even a mummer who eats nevela l'te'avon would prefer to eat kosher food. Well, the Gemara says, "Yachi kilo badak nami." Then what are we checking his knife for? If he would rather eat kosher food, then he's going to make sure that the knife is a good knife. The Gemara says, "Mitrich lo tarach." No, if he finds a problem with the knife, he's not going to do the tircha of running around looking for a kosher knife. So, how far he'll go to eat heter? He'll go a certain distance, not the whole way. There's a baraisa to support what you just learned. You have a Jew who doesn't keep mitzvahs. So therefore, he doesn't destroy his chametz on Pesach. He doesn't want to lose the money. Achara Pesach mutter miyad. Now, normally, chametz in the possession of a Jew, she'over alav Pesach, you can't benefit from, you can't eat. This person's chametz mutter miyad, midnei shein machlifin. What they do, now, chametz that belongs to a Gentile, to a non-Jew, you can eat. That's why we sell our chametz to a non-Jew. So this Oivre Aveira exchanges his chametz with the chametz of a Gentile and eats it. Savrua Hamani Rabbi Yehudi. The understanding of this sugya was that this is the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda, the Amar Chametz Achar Pesach Doraisa, that benefiting from chametz after Pesach is not allowed minat Torah. Uketanim ibnein shem machlifin. So their chametz is forbidden, so they exchange it with Gentiles. So we see clearly they would still prefer to eat permitted chametz than prohibited chametz. Alma l'shavik hater v'achal isura. They're not going to leave. They had to. That way they know that the Gentiles' chametz is permitted, so they exchange their chametz for them. Similarly, we said when you can eat from his shchita because he'd rather eat kosher food than nevela food. The Gemara says, "Mimai, who says that your analysis is correct?" Dilma Rab Shimoni. We're going to talk tonight at Lag BaOmer about Rabbi Yehuda and Rab Shimon. Both are Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. And here, this Rab Shimon is Rab Shimon Bar Yochai. So we'll have a whole discussion about this. Dilma Rab Shimon, Domer Chametz Achar Pesach Rabbana, who holds that the lav of benefiting hana from chametz she'over lav Pesach is only Rabbana. The Chima Kalinon, therefore, the reason why we're makel by saying that the Oiver Averis Chametz is mutter right away is because it's Kidrabanan, but Deraisa lo Mekalima. And Shchita is an issue of Deraisa. So the Tanya is not Messiah Lach. Says the Gemara V'Tevinami Rab Shimon. Fine, let the Deraisa be Rab Shimon. Miktoni Shani Oimer Echlifo. That I'm conjecturing that the Avarian and the non-Jew traded their chametz. We know for sure, 1,000% that they exchanged it. So even by the rabbinic law, he wants to exchange his prohibited chametz midrabanan with the Gentiles' completely permitted chametz. So b'deraisa lo kol shekain. So certainly he's going to run away from a prohibited thing midaraisa, such as nevela. And lema messiah. I'll give another brisa to support Rav. It says hakol shoichtin. Everyone can do shchita. Afilu orel, afilu Yisrael mummer, even an uncircumcised Jew, a mummer who violates something minat Torah. Now, orel hechidami. Why is this Jew uncircumcised? Let's say his two older brothers were hemophiliacs, and they both died during circumcision. So the law is you're not allowed to attempt a circumcision on the third. It's sakon nefashos, but he's going to remain uncircumcised, and he's not considered a mummer. HaYisrael ma'al. He's a full-fledged Jew. Elipshita mummer larelis. He doesn't believe in circumcision. He b'mezid refused to circumcise. Kosovar. And that Tana holds mummer l'davar echad lavi mummer l'chol haTorah kula. Just because a person rejects one of the Taryag mitzvahs doesn't make him a mummer to the rest of it. So we would be able to eat from a shchita. But ema seifa. Vafili Yisrael mummer. Now, what kind of mummer? Mummer is a rebellious Jew who's not keeping one of the Taryag mitzvahs. Hi mummer hechidami. He's rebelling, not a nevela law. He's rebelling something else. Or v'kachavim, or arelis, or something else. Well, that's the same thing as what we just said, mummer larelis, which we said is not a problem. Elalav mummer loisadover. Must be here, we're talking about mummer lenevela. And yet it's okay. Look at the Rava. That if you at least examine the knife, and he chefs with it, you can eat the meat. The Gemara says that baraisa lo is not a good proof. Somebody who's a mummer l'nevela, he cannot. We will not eat from his shchita. My tamakivan the doshbe, he's always eating nevela keter damile. It's viewed to him like heter. So he's not going to do anything to make sure that shchita. If he is someone who believes in Avodah Zarah,
Doing anything for Lag BaOmer tonight? Listening to my shir.
You'd be allowed to eat from his shchita according to Ravanan. Because some people
we're getting
hold,
old.
if you're a mumma Avodah Zarah, you're a mumma l'chol haTorah kula. But Rabbanan says no, you can eat from shchita.
Are you party to live Weimer?
George, mute, please.
George, you have
Sorry.
to give yourself mute. Gufa. Amar Rabbanan Amar Shmuel. Yisrael mumma l'avodas kechavim muter lechol meshchitaso. A Jew who believes in Avodah Zarah, you can eat from meshchita. And they bring a proof from Tanakh, which we learned. Shekein matzinu b'Yoshafat melech Yehuda, shenene mesudas Achav. Yehoshaphat was the king in Judea, and Achav was the king in Yisrael. And Yehoshaphat ate with Achav. Shenemar vayizbach lo Achav tzonu vokar larov. Achav slaughtered for Yehoshaphat sheep and cattle. V'la'ama sherimo, and the people who came with him. Vayisiseu la'alos Ramos Gilad. And he enticed him to go up to Ramos Gilad. Yehoshaphat was a religious Jew. So even though Achav worshipped Avodah Zarah, Yehoshaphat felt that Achav Shchita was kosher and could eat from it. Pray the Gemara, Dilma Mizbech Zevach, Mechel Ochel. Who says maybe Achav slaughtered the animals, but Yehoshaphat didn't eat it? No, Vayisiseu Ksiv, that means how did he convince him to go up to Ramat Gilad? Through food. So he ate the food. Who says the Gemara Dilma B'Dvarim, maybe he talked him into it. More says, Ein Asosa B'Dvarim. You can't talk people into things. Frank the Morvelov, Aksiv, Ki Yasischa Achicha. A macist, that's a Jew who talks people into worshiping Avodah Zarah. Yes, says the Gemara, but B'Achilu V'Shtiya. The macist convinces people through eating and drinking. V'aksi, but it says by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'atisitenu bo levalo chinam. And Hashem is not enticed through eat and drink. So l'mayla is shiny, but human beings need eat and drink. Dilma mashte ishti. So you wanted to bring a proof that Yehoshaphat ate from Achav Shchita, and therefore you can eat for somebody who worships Avodah Zarah. The Gemara says maybe Yehoshaphat only drank wine. The Dilma mishte ishti, but mechel ochel. So the Gemara says, what do you mean? Ma'ishna shtiya? They're meaning murmel avodas kachov v'lavi murmel chol haTorah kula. Just because you worship Avodah Zarah doesn't mean, says a Rav Anan, that you're a murmur for the rest of the Torah. Achilanami murmel avodas kachov v'lavi murmel chol haTorah kula. He's not considered necessarily a moired. That doesn't affect the shchita. If the shchita would have been forbidden, the wine would have been forbidden too. Where it says Achiyash, there's no comparison. Shtiya stam yenamu. There is yayin nesech, and then there is wine that we know was not used for worship. Now, stam yayin is also prohibited, but only midrabbanan. Right? Adayin lo neser yenan shalav dechachavim. This was before the rabbis introduced a prohibition midrabbanan of drinking their wine, their regular wine. Maybe I would say, though, that somebody who's a mummer lover may not eat his meat. And therefore, maybe Yehoshaphat just drank his wine. A king is not going to serve wine without food. We make a definite point that he enticed him through slaughtering. So we do have a proof that if somebody's a mummer avodah zarah, you can eat his meat. The Gemara still says you don't have a proof. V'dilma Ovadia Zovach. We know Ovadia, who was part of Achav's palace and was from, he's the one who hid all the Nevi'im that Achav was going to kill. Maybe he did the slaughtering. So Larav Ksiv, he slaughtered many sheep. Ovadia Lavasafik. Ovadia alone would not have been able to do it. So the shechita was done by somebody in Achav's camp. But Vidilma Shiva Salafim Zavok, the Navi told us there were 7,000 Jews who did not worship Avodah Zarah. D'chsiv, Visharti V'Yisrael Shiva Salafim Kol HaBirkaim Asher Lo Karu LaBaal. 7,000 Jews had not bent the knee to Baal. So maybe they shechted. No. Jezebel wanted to kill them, and they were hiding from Jezebel. Maybe some of Achav's people were religious, and maybe so there's no proof. So lo salkadait. Chasiv moishel makshim al varsheker kol mishars of rishoyim. It means if a ruler is in a Russia, his followers are rishoyim as well. Dilma Gavri Yoshafat Nami Lavimali. Maybe Yoshafat came with all sorts of people. Maybe not all of them were tzaddikim. Zavuach Gavri de Achav Ochel Gavri Yoshafat. And maybe the people of Achav shechted, and only these wicked people of Yoshafat ate. And that which Zavuach Ovadia, that which Ovadia slaughtered, Ochel Yoshafat. The Gemara says, Lo Salkadai. That doesn't make sense. Mi de Moishel Makshiv al Varsheker Kol Mishars of Rishoim. If a wicked king, all of his retinue are Rishoim, then Halad Varem is Mishars of Tzadikim. But if a Melech is a righteous Melech, then his people are going to be righteous as well. Dilma Zavuch Gavri Achav, but maybe Achav's men are the one who slaughtered it. And Ochel Achav Gavri, and therefore that's the meat that Achav and his men eat. Zavuch Gavri de Yehoshaphat, and the men of Yehoshaphat that slaughtered who were tzaddikim, Ochel Yehoshaphat Gavri. That's the meat that Yehoshaphat ate. So we're going to continue trying to bring a proof. So, normally we've been learning 2 blot, but I have to prepare for tonight's thing with Susie. So we'll pick up tomorrow, and we'll do a group of menachos tomorrow as well.